From St. Joseph, Missouri, here is Travis Lee Hartman.
I've got worms.
Yes.
That's what we're going to call it. We're going to specialize in worm farms.
I got worms.
That's probably the best thing we have going in, right?
I guess. That's what she said.
So we're back. Welcome to the next episode of Weighing In with Travis Hartman. You know, Travis, you know how I'm feeling?
Amazing per usual, Brandon.
Well,
you're always amazing.
Upside, inside out, and I'm living La Vida Loca.
Oh my goodness. How did I know that you were going to go somewhere with that?
I don't know. I always go somewhere. Welcome back. If you're following or subscribing to us, we appreciate that, whether it's on YouTube, on Spotify, iTunes, wherever it is. Thank you very much. We'll get into all those plugs later on. But before I get started, without further ado, that there is Travis Hartman. I am Brandon Waters. Thank you. Special thanks to our media partners. We have TH Boxing, Gulfstream Financial, and IF Enterprises. Thank you so much for your support on each of these episodes. And Weekend Trav, I don't even know if I can call you Weekend Trav.
Brandon, this is Weekend Trav.
This is like...
This is a version. This is a version of Weekend Trav.
This is Weekend Trav hits the slopes. This is Ski Resort Trav, Alpine Trav.
This is Cozy Sunday Trav right now.
Ooh.
This is post semi-vacation comfortable Trav.
Put a fire on, ladies and gentlemen. Get toasty by the fire
I know if you're in the Midwest right now, you know what this is about to be this time of weather.
Hey, outside right now, here in the deep south of Florida, we're looking at mid-70s, and it's chilly.
It was 80-something today in St. Augustine, where we were at.
Yeah. So, and we got a breeze on. I could hear the rain coming in. It's real nice. It's fall weather. Ladies, pull out your tights and your boots. Pull out your pumpkin spice everything. It is fall in Florida.
You know what this rain also reminds me of? It's almost for me being from the Midwest, it's almost like the crackling of the fire place with the wood just like pop, 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 pop. That's almost what it sounds like. So it's very, very soothing to me right now. It's very nostalgic to me
I
right
like
now.
it. I think,
I hear the crackling.
This podcast has taken a nice turn. I think we're going to get real sensitive going forward.
Ooh.
Probably not. Trav, we have a lot to talk about, a lot of boxing stuff to cover. There was a monster fight, a great card yesterday on ESPN, put on by Top Rank. And obviously we're talking about Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez had a battle, which we'll break down in a few minutes. There's a lot to talk about with that.
Yep.
And then also just what's really going on over the next 2.5 months. It is busy.
They just named a big fight, too, yesterday as well. So, I mean, you're right. I love boxing.
Yeah.
Love it, like, with a passion. And right now, boxing is delivering, man. Like, last weekend, it delivered. No matter what happened, the fight itself delivered.
Yeah.
The fights leading up to the fight itself delivered. Like, it's been a really good time to be a boxing fan. I've been saying that, honestly, for like about 5 years. It's been really good being a boxing fan.
Yeah, so depending on when you're actually seeing this or listening to this, ooh, I just touched your foot.
Ooh.
Okay.
But see, we're getting too close.
We are. It's cozy.
Too close.
It's cozy on episode 16.
Oh, we got already 16. We're 16 deep.
And speaking...
This is Sweet 16,
well, I'm not
Brandon.
16 deep. I'm
This
only
is
about
Sweet
2 or 3
16.
deep. And so speaking of 16... October 17th, which was yesterday for us, but depending on when you're seeing this, was the card that we were talking about that was on ESPN, thankfully, and it was free to the fans. That's the other big thing that we're not talking about, is that this was a good card, great bouts, and it was free, if you have cable, it was free to the audience to take part in.
Absolutely, it was on ESPN. And
on ESPN.
ESPN regular, not even ESPN Plus, it was ESPN regular. So yes, if you have regular cable vision, then you for sure saw this fight.
And so boxing,
no extra charge.
Boxing, like a lot of sports had been, and I think it's starting to loosen up a bit more because of the whole, and we'll talk about this too, the Big C stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You can say it for now because we haven't shot yet.
It was the boxing bubble still in Las Vegas, right? So there were only about 100 fans, and that's a mix of personnel, entourage, whatever else. So it wasn't like you were buying a ticket to get in there. But monster match that honestly, if it was open to the general public, if it was in a typical stadium, what do you think those tickets are going for? Around the front rows.
Oh, front row. You're talking about thousands for sure.
Easily.
Literally upper thousands for sure.
Yeah, we
100%.
had arguably one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in Vasily Lomachenko.
I mean, you're talking about, I'm saying, when I say thousands, I'm talking about 5 to 10,000.
Yeah.
Because regular bouts, like, prices can get up there.
So the fight was capturing social media attention, any sort of athlete. It was great. It was a great lead up. I think they built up the fight very well. So once again, we're talking about Vasily Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez. Yep. Got to get used to saying that because that cat,
superstar, 23
that cat
years
is
old.
now the future of that weight division, holding for the first time in that weight class all 4 belts.
And the thing about it is, it wasn't only for the belts, though, because people regarded Vasily Lomachenko as, not only was he the world champion, they regarded him as the pound-for-pound best in the world. I've mentioned this multiple times, but I think ESPN is one of the people who actually put him at number 1, and Crawford 2, and I think that they have either Errol Spence or Canelo Alvarez at 3. So the fact that Teofimo Lopez, who's not even rated pound-for-pound in the top 10, just beat the number 1 guy. When you win, what we call that is the Ring Magazine title. And it's not a sanctioned bout. It's not that something that you actually win, but it's something that it's the boxing experts regard as, if you win the Ring Magazine title, beating the pound-for-pound guy, that's the ultimate thing. Not being a world champion is great, but winning that pound-for-pound title, which everybody could say, I mean, he beat the guy who is the guy. So by all means, Teofimo Lopez needs to be rated up there now because he beat Lomachenko, who is highly regarded as the number 1 pound for pound in the world.
So let's get into the fight. I know usually if you're watching us, if you're listening to us, you know that we tend to have a thought process of how we want this show to go, but we deviate, we jump around. I think this is the perfect time to really get into this specific fight and talk about it from different angles. Let's talk about it from the point of view of, I don't know. How do you want to jump into this, Trav? How do you want to?
Right from the start. I mean, the fact that Teofimo Lopez, I think when the fight started, he was a 4-1 underdog.
Yep. Okay.
4-1. I don't think people realize that when Las Vegas puts you as a 4-1 underdog, you're probably going to lose. The fact that he pulled off a 4-1 underdog, and it was in Las Vegas, by the way, as well, at the MGM Grand there, and they've seen some big fights there. So the fact that he was a 4-1 underdog and he came out and performed like he did, that's pretty amazing.
What was interesting on the betting side of it, is that you saw the bigger dollar flows heading over to Lomachenko's side. So the bets were going to Loma on the big dollars.
Rightfully so.
But when you were talking about quantity, how many people were gambling, how many people were betting, you saw more of those. The tickets actually go in on Lopez's side. And maybe that was because of the spread, maybe it was because of the odds, whatever else. But it was interesting to see that it was almost more of the call of the people is what Lopez was gathering, rather than just the quote-unquote smart money or the big ticket dollar. Because, hey, those guys that put in the big money in, they don't have that big money today.
No. You know what, though? Most of the guys that bet that big money, they got to bet. Listen, most of them. Hopefully they do. But I would say, though, honestly, even if you didn't have that big money, if you were going to put a bet down, and I told everybody, I gave my prediction, and I'll eat some crow today. I was wrong. I called Lomachenko, just like the rest of the world called Lomachenko. But I called him because of who he is. He's Lomachenko. He's a very phenomenal fighter, and he showed brief episodes of Lomachenko in this fight. So jumping right into the fight, Teofimo Lopez started out great, and I knew he would. I was predicting that he would start out and probably win the first 2 to 3 rounds, and I even said that. I said, we're going to see a close fight early, and we are. Usually in Lomachenko fights, you see a close fight early on because he's like, he's picking you apart. He's getting data. He's computing data in his mind of what you do and how you react to certain things. And if you watched this fight, this was no different. The fact that he was literally letting Lopez do what he wanted. He was blocking. I don't think he threw a punch for like a couple of rounds, it seemed like. Like he really didn't, right? Like it looked like he threw a couple punches.
What did they say? I think he threw 11 in the first round. And to me, I mean, half of those might have been just checks. It wasn't even like a real punch. I mean, it was amazing to watch the first 2 rounds, and you're like, okay, well, we already know that it's 10-9 on both of those.
I think he knew going into that he was going to give away a couple early rounds because, like I said, he does that. The great ones do that. Like Floyd Mayweather does that. He'll get some data. He'll compute it, all of it. First couple of rounds, he gets it in, and then what's he do? He figures the guy out and pulls away. However, Lomachenko didn't pull away until... Honestly, he probably never really pulled away, but I would say around 7 through 11, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, about 4 rounds. I say without a single doubt in my mind, there's about 4 rounds that without a single doubt, Lomachenko won. when I watched that fight. And then there's a couple of swing rounds, and you're like, he might have won like the second round, I think. You could probably say Lomo might have had a little bit of a shot of winning because nothing really happened. But for the most part, Lopez won the early rounds, which was kind of expected. But what wasn't expected was the fact that Lomo started so late. And the thing is, if you watch the fight about the 7th round, Lomo finally picked it up. And when he did, when Lomo let his hands go, dude, he was pelting Lopez.
Yeah.
There was a couple times that I remember telling you he backed him on the ropes, and I was like, oh, here it goes. He needs a knockdown to get him back ahead on some scorecards. I was like, I think he might get a knockdown, not a knockout, a knockdown, but he didn't. Lopez, by all means.
Let's give credit to the champ.
Exactly, and that's what I'm trying not to take anything from Lopez, because Lopez, he surprised me because everybody thought that Lopez's only shot was his knockout power. It wasn't. He can fight. He's got fast, and I said it in my lead up. I said Lopez has got fast hands. He can fight. He can do more than just punch. He's got punching power, but he's also quick, and he showed more than that. He showed that he was confident. He showed that he can literally stare the man of that division in the eyes and fight him back.
Yeah, so
and that's what he did. He stood up to the bully.
So I think a lot of folks today and even after the fight happened, we were kind of picking apart what was wrong with Lomachenko's game plan versus the typical, he usually gives him 3 or 4 rounds, does the computer computation in his mind, but this time it was really like half the fight. I want to give credit where credit's due. We both were on the same page. We thought Lomo was going to win this by decision. It was going to be close. We didn't think it was going to be overwhelming, I don't believe. So even when the fight was over, I was sitting there waiting for the judge's scorecard. I'm like, it's going to be close. But I
was really curious.
But I thought Teofimo probably had it, right? So credit where credit's due. The strategy paid off. Typically what you see on a Lopez match, he's explosive. He looks for the fireworks. And I thought on this one, I'm like, you know what? There's no real fans. And I thought that was going to be, it was going to be tougher for him because he wouldn't feed on that energy.
He's a very emotional fighter on that.
Yes, correct. So, and all you could hear is his dad, which at a certain point, I think that's poor. That's not very good, but it works for him right now. So strategy wise, I was concerned for him going in.
Cool story about that is, though, both of those fighters, their dad trained them. It's training from the beginning, and they still train them. So it's kind of a cool story, backstory of that.
The other point with him was that the technical aspect of it, I thought Lomo was going to have the advantage there, and maybe he still did, but I think it shocked the crap out of everybody. The technical wherewithal that Teofimo Lopez fought with. Now, we shouldn't be that surprised. He had a great amateur career. He's been boxing his whole life, basically. Yeah. But I think all we see are the antics. All we see is the explosiveness, and so we don't really pay attention to the other stuff. It was on full display for 12 rounds. He did well. Whether it was Loma coming inside on him pushing him away, getting the distance back. Just continuously moving, but he was focused in. You could tell he was honed in. I don't think he ever felt like he was in trouble.
You're right. And this is a perfect time too. I've been waiting for the time to reference this because I've been reading this book called Never Hurt Me by David Goggins. And he talks about bullies in his book. And you bully a bully. That's how you beat a bully. And I think 100% that's exactly what Teofimo did. Teofimo came out there. By all means, Lomachenko, he's not a bully in the sense that, in the word that you hear like kids bullying kids at school, but he's the bully in the aspect of when you go into a fight with Lomachenko, you know that he's highly skilled. He punches from angles. He just inserts his will on you, and he beats a lot of people before they get in the ring. So the fact that Teofimo, when Lomachenko was trying to kind of initiate some stuff, Lopez was amazing. He literally stood right there. And like you said, there was a couple moments where when they were on the inside, that's exactly where Lomachenko needed to be. And what Lopez do? Shoved him like a man. Like he was an alpha, man. And he showed that for the first 6 rounds. So when we say Lomo didn't get started until late, that has a lot to do with Lopez.
Great point.
That had a lot to do with what Lopez was showing him. And Lopez was not giving Lomachenko anything. And Lomachenko was still, he's a guy who like computes data, and he wasn't getting any data from Lopez. And when he did, Lopez was literally shocking him because he came on the inside instead of holding or whatever else. He shoved him. I mean, it was, man, I was watching that fight. I was just like, I sat back a couple times, like about 5th or 6th round. I was like, this guy's got a good game plan. And I was like, no way it's going to hold up, though. No way. I was like, I'm waiting. All of us were waiting for Lomo to just pick it up.
There were a couple of the later rounds where you're like, okay, now it's starting.
Yeah.
Now it's starting because you kind of saw, the hands dropping a little bit on Lopez's side, and you're like, okay, here it is.
You've seen a little urgency in Lomachenko in the later
Which he needed
rounds.
to, because the computer brain, he's like, okay, I'm probably down on this. So the other thing I'll mention about Lopez that I don't think anyone was ready for was his patience, his poise. In the ring, he worked with such patience, worked the lower body. He was working the abdomen area very well. The body shots were on point. You could see within the first round and a half, just already ribs red. The area was red.
Which is so smart, because if you watch Loma and you're watching us on YouTube, Loma holds his hands up really high.
Yes.
He exposes his body, but what he does also, he's got a good jump back.
Yeah.
Which is what he does. He holds his hands up high and he jumps back and makes him miss. He made him miss a little bit.
But the length was tough to
it's
overcome.
Exactly what it was. I looked at the they give like the pre-fight thing that they do the weight, the height, and all of that. I believe that Lopez had like a 3 or 4 inch reach on Lomachenko, and I was just like, when I seen that, I was just like, it's gonna be a problem. Like, that's gonna be a problem. I don't care how talented you are. When a guy's got a reach like that on you, he's gonna get you a little more than the other guy's got you, because he's got a reach and he knows how to use it.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was that was one of the announcers on the fight itself. They mentioned not necessarily that Loma holds the hands up high, which he does, but also that when you look at his body proportionally, his abdomen area is long. It's like it's longer than usual you'd expect. I mean, overall, great fight, great output by both.
It was a phenomenal fight to watch.
I'm not surprised by the win. What I'm surprised at, Travis, is the judges' scorecard. That is interesting to me, okay? So you obviously more into this world than I have been, because you've been in it your whole life, What do you think about that? What do you think about those 3 assessments on the judges' side?
So I'll first start off by saying that when I scored the fight, Andre Ward is one of the sportscasters as well. He's a undefeated professional boxer, retired undefeated. I think he was a gold medalist in the Olympics. Like, the guy's phenomenal, okay? I respect Andre Ward as a fighter. I respect him as a commentator. He scored the fight a draw.
Yeah.
114. I scored the fight exactly the same. I scored the fight a draw. But I wasn't upset that Lopez won, because I'll tell you, I scored it a draw, but I could not find a way to score that fight for Lomo. So the best that I found was a draw. I thought it was a fair draw. It would have been. So what I'm saying is that I could see Lopez winning that fight.
Sure.
Narrowly. Like a 115-113, which is 7
saw
rounds
maybe,
to 5.
I saw maybe, the 2 rounds over. Yeah.
A 7 round, giving Lopez 7 rounds, Lomachenko 5 rounds, 100% fair. But those scorecards, Brandon, that's what I have the biggest problem with. I don't have a problem with who won. I don't, because I think that, you know what, it was what it was. Lopez took it to Lomachenko. He came to the champ, and he really displayed what
game plan was great.
You could tell he was hungry.
Yeah.
That's what we have to talk about too. Is Lopez is 23 years old. Lomachenko's 32 years old. Okay, it showed, because this young, hungry lion, who he was 15-0 going into this fight, never had a big fight like this ever. So the fact that he rose up.
Well, they've been asking for 2 years.
Yeah, which is crazy, because I thought, and so did a bunch of guys that I know that are experts, and we're just bouncing this idea off each other. We're like, it's too early for Lopez. It is. I thought 100%. Again, I'm going to eat crow because I was wrong. I thought this was too early. I thought they were picking on Lomachenko too early, because Lomachenko is phenomenal. This guy is, by all means, he's the it guy. Like, he can fight. He can do everything.
Before we get into the judges' side of it, let's kind of backtrack. So talk to me about the layoff, though. So Lomachenko had a longer layoff. He's older.
Over a year, yep.
I don't want to say that all of a sudden Lopez didn't, because Lopez also had a layoff. He had 10 months.
Yep.
So let's talk about that from your perspective, because obviously you've been in the fight game for a long time, and no offense, you're older.
Nah.
So I want to hear how that is, right?
Man.
What's the layoff
Get
like?
to that point
well,
now.
what's the layoff like? How does that affect you in the ring? I know Loma's is a different animal. He's just a machine, this guy. 2-time gold medalist, great amateur career, professional. I mean, listen, he is still, even after this fight, going to be considered one of the all-time greats and all-time.
And he'll be back.
Yeah, and he'll be, and so they're going to figure things out, and we'll talk about that too. But talk to me about the layoff, how that affects a fighter, especially depending on the age difference, because that's a 9-year age difference.
Well, here's the deal. I know for a fact that Lomo is a gym rat, and what I mean by that is he lives in the gym. He trains his butt off. He's from Ukraine. That's all he knows how to do is train. He's constantly training. So I don't I don't want to say that the layoff had a huge effect on him, but I think it had a little bit of an effect because he started late. So here's the thing. You can train all you want, Brandon, but nothing will ever replicate that live, in the moment boxing match, ever. It will never emulate that. It won't. So what I think happened was he had been out of the ring so long that I think he forgot that he needs to start a little earlier. Like, I think he was a little hesitant. And that was also, like I said, that's not taking anything away. That's also because of what Lopez was doing. It made him a little more hesitant to start earlier. But I think Lomo started late, and that's all there was. Because when Lomo started in the 7th and 8th round, he was Lomo. Excuse me. He literally was Lomo. He came on landing like 6, 7, 8 punch combinations on Lopez on the ropes, and Lopez couldn't return none of those. He couldn't. He got hit with a couple of good shots, and that's what made me more impressed by Lopez. Was there was a couple of times where I legit was like, okay, yep, Lomo's getting ready to put him on his ass. Like, I thought so. I was like, he's getting ready to put him down, because Lopez was getting a little, not cocky, but he was very
No, but he's
confident.
dropping his hands.
Yep, and he
okay,
was.
you started to see some of the typical Lopez stuff coming, which is great, which is fine. But man, he ate some shots too, and he went right through it.
Yep, he did. He walked through the fire, and
he impressed the crap out of me.
That's what you do to a bully, though.
Yeah.
A bully, Lomachenko gave him his best. While Lomo still won those later rounds, he did. But I think in Lomo's head too, Lomo was like, I just gave this guy what I give everybody else, and most people break. He goes, Lomo does. Lomo mentally and physically breaks people. He didn't break Lopez, and that's what was impressive, because
very impressive.
he owned Lopez. I would say about a couple of rounds, he owned Lopez. 8 and 9 maybe, he owned him. But Lopez was like, I'm still here, bro. I'm still here.
When Teofimo had to bring it on that 12th round, just in case, obviously the final, this is going to be the circle back to the judges' scorecard.
Yep.
When we're all watching on TV, and even the guys on the announcer table are like, all right, this is probably the round. Yep. This is it. Man, Lopez brought it.
Yep.
And honestly, I didn't really see much output from Loma.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy about that too? That 12th and final round, Teofimo's dad said, you've won this fight. He said, box. He did. He literally told, he goes, box. And what Lopez do? Not
brought
that.
It.
And he said it. Yeah. He goes, I know my dad told me. He goes, but you know what? He's like, I'm a fighter. He goes, you know what I'm going to do?
That's great. That's respect.
I'm going to go fight.
I respect that.
That's why that's good for boxing, because two things is good for boxing. Teofimo Lopez is showing what's good for boxing is, one, he didn't try to protect his 15-0 record. He literally took on a legend. Lomachenko's a legend already. He's a legend in the game. He really is. And Lopez was like, I'll fight him. I don't care. Lopez could have been 20, 30-0 before he fought a big name, and nobody really would have gave him crap for that. But the fact is, Lopez was like, you know what? I want to fight the best, period. I want to fight Lomachenko. He's been calling for it for a couple of years, and the kid's 23.
Yeah.
Like, literally 23. So the fact that he called him out is old school, because that's what they used to do back in the day. The Ali time frame, the number one contender fought the champ. Nowadays, we have 4 champions. We have 4 number one contenders. We have this and that. We have this alphabet soup of titles.
Yep.
And the fact that Lopez said, no, put me in with this guy, I will beat this guy. Impressive. And that is what's good for boxing. And then the fact that he stood up to everything Lomo had. He didn't run from him. That 12th and final round, here's the deal. The 12th and final round, the smart thing to do, which a lot of the top guys do, is when they know they've won the fight, they box.
Mm-hmm.
They not run, but they fight smart. They
Sure.
don't engage, because they don't get caught with things stupid, because it happens.
Do enough.
The most famous story is Julio Cesar Chavez versus Meldrick Taylor. Meldrick Taylor's winning that fight easily. What does he do? He goes out there and tries to fight Chavez. Chavez knocks out Meldrick Taylor with like 3 seconds to go in that fight. Derails Meldrick Taylor's entire career. Meldrick Taylor was winning that entire fight, hands down, on the judges' scorecards.
Right.
What's he do? He goes out and fights and gets knocked out. But it was one of the most exciting fights of like all time. Like, it really was huge. The fact that Lopez told his dad, now I'm going to fight. And he didn't tell his dad that. He just went out there and did it. Man, that's what boxing needs. That's what boxing is about. Lopez was winning that fight on all judges' scorecards up to that point, but 12th round. Even though I didn't think it was that way going into the 12th, but looking at the judges' scorecards, he could have lost that 12th round, wouldn't have mattered. But he's like, I don't care. He goes, I want to put a freaking just stamp on this fight and show everybody that I'm here to fight. And what's good about that is not just that fight. What he did was he put notice to all these other fighters that says, Lopez is not out there just to win. He's out there to kick your ass, and he's going to step on the gas every moment of every round. And that's what's impressive. He fought 12 rounds. He didn't fight 11 rounds. He fought 12 rounds. And the fact that he did that to Lomachenko
12 total rounds
is impressive.
Against one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world.
The best pound-for-pound on people's list.
Yeah. So, all right, that's a good segue then. So we talk about that.
Scorecards.
Tell me the scorecard, man. What was up with that? This is the gripe. This is one of the biggest gripes when it comes to an outsider looking in on the boxing sport, is that when you go to judges' decisions, just like any other sport that's judges' cards, whether it's different swimming events, I hate to put it in the same realm as like gymnastics.
No, but you know what? Gymnastics has the same scoring as boxing. It's based on opinion of the judges. They actually have a similar scoring system.
It's just incredible to me when you look at the finals tally of the 3 judges of this bout. And once I heard the first one, I'm like, you've got to be joking me. The second.
Either way, it was dumb.
So walk me through all 3 of those. I don't know if you have them up on your laptop.
I believe it was, oh my gosh, 116, 112, 117, 111, and then 119, 109.
Come on.
If anybody's listening to this, the 119 to 109 scorecard, it means that Teofimo Lopez won 11 rounds, Lomachenko won 1 round. So it was a lady, Julie Letterman. She is famous not because of her dad, but she got started because her dad was Harold Letterman, the famous HBO analyst and like color commentary guy. It was amazing. That guy's amazing. He is. And Julie Letterman's had I think it's like over 200 fights that she's judged.
Yeah.
The fact that she scored that fight 11 rounds to Teofimo Lopez, 1 round to Lomachenko, blows my mind. I'm like, Brandon, I'm with you and I'm with the average fan. The decision, the fighter who won, even though I scored it a draw, but I didn't have a problem with Lopez winning, okay? But I have a huge, massive problem with the scorecards.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say it, and like I said this to a couple guys, and they're like, no, Travis, don't say this. And I'm like, I'm going to say it, that Julie Letterman, she's not incompetent, okay? If you're not incompetent, then what's that say? She scored at 119, 109. That's dirty. That's dirty because I don't care who you are. I don't even care if you are a Lopez fan. You watch that fight. You cannot tell me without a doubt in your mind that he won 11 rounds.
The
biggest BS ever.
The first word that popped into my brain when I heard that being announced, disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously? You can't tell me, were your contacts dirty for like 80% of the fight? Okay, let's say Teofimo had 9 other rounds. Okay, I could maybe see that. You're still stretching there.
That's a stretch too, yeah.
That's still a stretch, but oh my goodness.
They said he won 1 round.
That's ridiculous. And I don't understand it because, like you said, she has experience. I'm not saying she didn't know what she's doing.
She's like over 200 fights.
I don't care if it's a man or a woman doing it. That doesn't matter to me. Yeah. She has the experience, but what fight were you watching?
I was waiting when I heard all the other judges' scorecards, and they waited. Hers was the last scorecard.
No, hers was the middle. It was the middle?
Yeah. When I heard that scorecard, I was
like, what?
I'm like, I don't.
Well, first of all, I already knew who won then. I'm like, are you serious?
But you know what? I actually didn't. When I heard that scorecard, I got confused. I was like, wait. I was like, who? 11 rounds to 1? I'm like, who the hell is she looking at?
Maybe it was an activity thing. I don't know.
It couldn't even have been that. I literally, there's in my I hate to say this about an experienced, long-lasting judge, but she's not incompetent. So when you're not incompetent, then what else does that say?
So at that point, my son was asleep. Like he was watching the whole thing with me.
If I got up,
it was
like
late.
After midnight,
so he was watching the whole card with me, which is great because I love spending time with my son and doing stuff like that. Just he's not used to it. He's
such a good family man.
He's watched plenty of MMA stuff, whatever else, but he never really understood the judges' scoring. So I was explaining it. Thank goodness he wasn't watching that because then I couldn't explain it anymore.
And that's the thing with boxing. That's why I love that we're talking about scoring because boxing's, and I tried to explain, because I was watching with a couple people as well, I tried to explain the scoring to them. And when you actually try to explain how they score boxing matches to people, I actually stop and I'm like, it is kind of a messed up scoring because basketball, if you score 2 points, you get 2 points.
Yeah.
If the ball goes through the hoop, that's 2 points. Football, if the ball goes across the goal line, that's 6 points. If you kick a field goal, that's 3 points. There's a very distinct version.
Of course, but in boxing, if you beat the tar out of your opponent for the first 2 rounds and then you guys are just dancing for the next handful of rounds,
it's a very hard sport to explain to people how to judge it.
So when I was explaining it to him, it was actually with the fight right before that, because it felt one-sided, but I said, no, bud, when you look at it, it depends on the rounds. I mean,
Yep.
I
They
can't
score
remember the
fights.
names. Yeah.
Barbosa. It was Barbosa.
It was Barbosa Jr. and that's gonna.
Saucedo.
Yes.
Yep.
Saucedo?
Yep, Alex Saucedo.
Saucedo. Okay.
Yep.
I think
I'm
Sausalito Turkey
well,
from Publix.
Yeah, Saucedo. Saucedo, like
Okay.
Sauceda or something like that. But yeah, it was Saucedo.
So they were like in that fight, and I don't mean to like change directions here, but there in that fight, I'm like, okay, Barbosa's got this, but man, there's a handful of rounds
never know.
there, and deeper in the match. I'm like, okay, Saucedo's starting to get into it. Those are going to go his way. It's going to be pretty tight on the scores, and it was not as tight as I thought. I started to explain it to my son, and he's like, okay, I think I get it. He's like, but what happens, so if the guy really just beats the crap out of him in the first couple of rounds and then they don't do anything the rest of the fight? I said, it just depends.
See, what people don't understand about boxing, too, is each individual round is scored.
Yeah.
So after the first round, the judges actually have to do a tally, and they put that scorecard away. It's away. Then the second round, it's a whole new ballgame. So each round, and that's what people don't understand sometimes, is I'm like, listen, yeah, this guy knocked him down in the second round. They're like, oh, so when somebody knocks somebody down, like, oh, he's going to win the fight, right? I'm like, no, he won that round. He got an extra point.
Oh, but
10-8.
But here with that, so that fight in particular, that wasn't deemed a knockdown first.
Yep,
that was what is it? He just like
They call it a slip.
a slip. Yeah, there we go.
I don't like that referee either, by the way. But go ahead.
So slip, because we think slip otherwise when we're boxing. But they went to the review in between rounds,
Which is brand new for boxing.
that was interesting. I actually didn't mind it because, first of all, it was quick. I'm a big football guy, so our reviews take an hour to see, was it a catch, was it not a catch?
It slows the momentum
And
down.
it was
all that.
not a catch for those watching at home back years ago.
Des Bryant, you're not in the NFL anymore. It was a catch, bro. I loved you, and it was a catch. Please don't listen to this Green Bay Packers fan.
I like
It was a catch.
I like the fact that I feel like we basically ended his career. I'm just kidding. I never want that for any professional
You don't,
athlete.
but you kind of did because he hasn't played. Well, no, I mean he played a couple years after that, but
Not a lot. I think he got hurt, actually.
one or two.
I think he got
did
hurt.
play after. He did play after that.
Yeah, but then, anyways.
Now, whatever, you agree with the
the NFL and other leagues, their reviews take forever. This one was in between rounds. Now, they didn't come out to the next round immediately because they waited, because they got the yellow light.
Yeah,
The
that
yellow
was
light
cool. That
there.
was something new, man.
And they explained it well, too. That's actually kind of one of the nicest things about the bubble system right now, is that because there's not so much activity going on, there's no stands, there's
Usually
no people.
the fans overwhelm.
Yeah.
And you can't talk during a fight. Even the referees are trying to speak with the judges or the commission during a fight, and people are it's so loud. Yeah, you're right.
If anyone wants to get into watching the sport now or get interested in it, this is a good time because you get to learn more. They break things down very specifically, whether it's how they score rounds, now this new, and I don't know if it's everywhere, but definitely on this Top Rank event.
Yeah, that's the thing I was telling you earlier is that, one, I love to speak when boxing does good. This was a good thing.
This was
the
a good
replay and how they handled the replay and
Sure.
how fast it was awesome. However, boxing still has a broken system, meaning that this replay, it's not everywhere. It's based on each commission, which is each state. Each state is different, and Las Vegas, Nevada decided that, hey, we're going to have this. And it's not everywhere. It's not just because you fight in Las Vegas or Nevada, it's not going to happen every single time.
Yeah.
But it's for the big fights.
It's the lack of consistency on things like that make it tough
Very much.
for an average sports fan to get involved. Similar to like we're talking about the big fight anyways for the main event, where it's like, great, unified, 4 belts, all on one guy.
And most people don't even know what unified means, and unified's a big deal. Unified means that there's 4 titles, and usually
That doesn't happen much.
it doesn't.
This
very
weight class,
rare.
this was the first time in this weight class, wasn't it?
It might have been. I'm not sure, but But even if it wasn't the first time, it hasn't happened in a long time because even like the welterweight division, Terence Crawford unified the title. It was like 20 years. Keith Thurman unified the title. It was like 30 years.
And that's actually, and it's not just us as fans griping about it. So when I was listening to another fellow podcaster, Joe Rogan, and he had Roy Jones Jr. on. And
Great podcast,
That was
by
a
the way.
great
Thanks
episode.
for recommending that.
Yeah. So they were talking, and it brought up just it's so hard, and it gets frustrating as the fighter because you have all these belts all over the place, and you got guys ducking other champs, and you can never attempt to unify.
The business of boxing gets in the way a lot, and this is what I try to explain to a lot of people too, and they don't understand it, especially for me. I bring it up a lot for me, especially because I had 170 amateur bouts, right? I went 156-13 as an amateur, almost 13 fights. I beat world champions. I beat pound for pound best as a pro, like Nonito Donaire, beat him at nationals. Anthony Durrell, I beat him in the finals of nationals. Legit fights, right? I turn pro, I fight those big guys, I lose. But what people don't understand is the business of it. Like literally, I had 4 or 5 days notice to fight these fights. It was crap. So that's where boxing is really missing the boat on a lot of stuff, and that's where like it needs to come around and get things a little better. And it's just, it makes it tough to explain to people these things because you don't know this going in. Like the business of boxing, is the titles. The 4 titles. Yeah. People don't understand it, but it's the business of boxing, and the titles, they help make boxing as well. They do. They add a lot of intrigue. If you tell somebody that they're fighting for a title, fans immediately like, oh, I want to go. And the titles have figured that out, and there's 4 of them now, and there's a lot of money. And what people don't know is you actually have to pay to fight for a title. You know that. Every one of these fighters have to pay a sanctioning fee, even the champs. Floyd Mayweather was one of the like famous ones. He was like, I'm not going to pay it. He's like, I don't care. And eventually they paid it though. Yeah. But it's like some of these titles, it's like 25 grand that you have to, like, Brandon, like this is, nobody knows this, but like these fighters, you have to pay. Pay to play. I don't care how good you are. None of these titles these guys fight for is for free. So they pay a sanctioning fee to fight for a title.
So it's a very similar setup to people paying to be sponsors of this podcast or our media partners, which is TH Boxing, Gulfstream Financial, and IF Enterprises. Weekend Trav, I can't call you Weekend Trav. I got to call you something else here.
Can you call me Weekend?
You can't even dance
Trav?
In this. What is? This is going to be our lowest rated podcast because you're not in some getup.
But it's like our best boxing podcast.
It is so far, and you know what? There's so much more to come because this is going to be our little break.
You know what? And the fact that you already mentioned Roy Jones Jr. on that podcast, and guess who we talked about? His fight with Mike Tyson, which is next month. So we can leave a cliffhanger with that.
And guess what? There's even more.
Some cool stuff.
There's even more prior to that. So with that, we're going to take a short pause here. It's going to feel, as I always say, like a few seconds, but we're going to reassess our notes. Make sure there are several things that I've written down. I know you have on your laptop. We want to talk about. Hopefully, we get to it because listen. The event last night for us, which was on the 17th, there was a lot of good stuff that came out of that. There was a fight between Linnell Bellows and Edgar Berlanga, which was, I tell you what, there's some stuff coming in the boxing realm.
15-0 with 15 straight knockouts in the first round.
So we want to talk about all sorts of stuff that we can.
Boxing's hot, baby. Boxing's hot.
It is hot, and it's not as hot in here today, which is great because this is fall weather. This might be.
You know, this is Midwest Trav. This is Midwest Trav today.
This might
is
be
fall Midwest Trav.
I feel like this is pumpkin spice Trav.
So it's fall Midwest, kind of.
I'm going to try to push pumpkin spice Trav. So we're going to be back. Thank you to our media partners, and if you have not subscribed already, or to our YouTube channel, Facebook, Spotify, iTunes, I lose track.
Amazon. You know it all, Brandon.
We're all over the place.
Yeah, we're worldwide.
Prestige. Worldwide.
Yes.
With that, we will be back momentarily. Thanks all.
I don't want it that bad.
That's what she said. With that, we are back from our break. I was just waiting because that's the first time in all of our episodes you have not yet used that's what she said comment.
You didn't hear it, but I said it in the opening line.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
You said something, and I said that's what she said. Let's talk about that.
Well, we are drinking Freedom Whiskey Company, small batch straight bourbon whiskey. Where are they out of?
I'm not sure where they're out of, but I bought that in St.
The
Augustine.
most Republican state ever, California.
Oh, wow.
I'm just kidding. So, 100% veteran-owned.
That's why I got
Freedom Whiskey Co. I know you can find this in some of ABC liquor stores, not all of them, or wherever you're at. I don't know. It depends where you're listening to us from. Let me get your take. What do you think?
You know what? Everybody asks the question, like, what does freedom taste like? I'm going to tell you what freedom tastes like. Freedom tastes pretty darn good.
Pretty darn good. So here's my camera angle. Has a nice little eagle on that. Half a shot of Freedom whiskey.
I just want to say that I'm getting empty though. That's why I was holding it up right now, because
MF
I didn't want to like, you were talking about it, so I didn't want to like interrupt it.
Well, you did. Either way, you did.
All right, that's good.
There you go. All right. So my opinion on this. To me, it's good. It has a little bite at the end, and your first sip, you get a little bit of the smoke on the back end after a few seconds. It's good. I mean, it's not. Once again, it's not one of those where you're clamoring to the store to buy. In support of veterans, sure, but it's good. It's not bad. We've had some bad ones.
Yes,
you know what we're going to start doing?
Oh yeah, rate them.
Producer notes. We're rating them.
B Money. I haven't said that for a while, dude, about B Money.
This is B Money,
aka producer.
That's usually Weekend Trav, but this is now.
This is still Weekend Trav.
No, this is Pumpkin Spice Trav.
What the heck?
He's dressed like he's going on. He's a ski bunny. Ski bunny Trav.
I do like to ski now.
Do you?
Yep.
You do the mogul jumps?
No, I cannot do that. But
Oh,
that is.
what do you do?
You know what? That's got to be something.
Black
that's on the
diamond,
list.
is that a thing?
It is a thing, and that's a very hard one. And they
I've
took
never
me on
skied.
that, my very first one. And I will tell you right now that I did the funniest somersault down a hill into a slide as my skis popped off. I was scared crapless.
Well,
I did it.
As your producer, you're not doing that anytime soon because
That's true.
your career's not over.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah, but I mean,
Ooh.
isn't it though? It has.
No.
been a thought.
Okay, so Freedom whiskey, it's good. If you have a chance to try it, what was the medium price point? You said it was about like $40.
Yeah, it was
something
like,
that?
I mean, like 40. It was $40 with tax, maybe a little over 40 with tax.
Okay.
It was not bad. This is why I bought it, not because of Freedom. I actually had another one picked out.
Yeah.
And this one was right beside it. It said Freedom, and then I turned it around, and it said 100% veteran owned.
Yeah. So
I
don't know. You
as
can
a
try it.
patriot, and you know this, like I'm a sucker for America. I'm very, very pro-American, as you are. I love our country. I do, to a fault for sure, but I love our country, and I do believe that our veterans fought for us. And I think that they deserve a lot of respect and a lot more than they get. So if I can do a tiny part, this is a tiny part. This isn't like, oh my God, I'm like this saint, but it's 100% veteran.
Sure.
If I
and
can
it's
do it,
good.
I'll do it.
Listen, it's good. It's not.
It really
it's,
is.
You'll enjoy it. And there was once a movie and a song that said, "America, F yeah."
We could always count on you for the tunes, but maybe not the. Well, actually,
I'm not on tune, but it was close.
No, I want to tell you that you are definitely the songbird of our generation.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Where did we leave off? Where did we leave off?
Well, what I want to do is I want to wrap up. I want to put a bow on the Loma Lopez fight. Listen, it's obviously the hot topic. Everyone's talking about it today, and they will talk about it for the next couple of days.
Monday morning quarterback.
It is, and leading into whatever the next bout, the next big fight's going to be, which maybe we'll talk about that.
Maybe.
Final thoughts, assessment on Loma Lopez going forward, what you saw, what you would like to see going forward from those guys.
I would like to see a rematch. However, I don't think it'll happen based on the fact that Lopez has bigger fish to fry, and I think that he knows deep down that he was the better guy on October 17th.
Sure.
I'm going to give it to him. Even though I scored a draw, I had no problem with him winning. So what I'm going to say is I think a fair scorecard would have been something like a 115, 113, which would have been 7 rounds to Lopez, 5 rounds to Lomachenko. Fair.
You will not find. I don't think you'll find anyone out there that said Loma won.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that either. The best that I can do, no, I wouldn't even say the best. My actual scorecard, no matter what anybody wants to say, my best scorecard was I scored it a draw.
Yeah.
Literally, which was 6 rounds to 6 rounds. And I don't even think you can really argue that either. It easily could have been a draw.
Could have been.
Yep. That was a fight that you look at and you could be like, yeah, you know what? I couldn't pick a guy who was crazy better than the other. They were both had their moments and was phenomenal. Lopez had his moments the first 6 rounds. Oh, phenomenal. He impressed me a lot, which means that I think that the division in boxing is in good hands because Lopez is a phenomenal guy. I would love to see him with every top
and
guy.
Charismatic and
Very,
entertaining
and deserving. He's deserving, but I'm still not on the boat to where he's like the next superstar. Meaning, there's a lot of guys, and he mentioned a guy who's talking about Devin Haney that he wants to fight. I can see a guy like Lomachenko fighting all of those guys and beating them. I still can't see a guy like Lopez fighting all of those other guys and beating them. So that's how I'm not giving him the superstar mark yet. Even though he beat Lomachenko, he did. He won. The judges were way off, but he won the fight. I'm not going to take it from him. But I don't see, and I'm so sorry because I'm good friends with one of his managers, Joe Kiambu, who's a great guy. I'm good friends with him. But I don't see the superstardom, and they're trying to give him the superstardom already. And I'm like, he's young. He's 23. Give the kid a little more time. Sure. I think he beat, by the judges' take, he beat Lomachenko. However, Lomachenko's not done. Lomachenko's going to come back, and Lomachenko's going to fight his butt off because he is a great, and he's going to prove it again. But I am very, very optimistic about the future of the 135-pound division, the 140-pound division, because of a guy like Lopez. Yeah. He's setting a precedent. He really is.
Yeah. Once again, great fight. Overall, great fight. Game plan was great. What's the incentive for the Lopez camp to go back to the rubber match? There's none.
Not really.
History will never lie, though. He will always be the 4-belt champ in the history books.
Forever.
He will be looked back at as this is the guy that knocked Loma off.
Yep.
And so whether or not they actually run it back, I don't know. It would be great for the fans. It would be great for viewership. And I think even at the time frame that they can actually do it, you got a packed stadium at that point.
Yep.
Hopefully.
So that could be the only thing that makes it happen again is if they start allowing fans back, and they are in certain places towards the end of the year. They are.
But once again, this is less than 24 hours after the fact, so it's hard to say, hey, this is what should be next. This is what, we would love to see a rubber match. I don't think the Lopez camp wants to see the rubber match ever.
Wait, no, isn't rubber match means they fought twice.
Doesn't it?
The third fight is rubber match.
I don't know.
I think.
Is it?
Yeah, it would
I
just
figure
be a
it's like a
rematch.
bounce back.
I think the rubber match is considered the third match.
Well,
But I could also be wrong, but...
More than likely I am. I'm just using terminology out of school. So what would you call just
rematch?
Just a rematch?
Just rematch. They're going to run it back.
That's kind of boring.
I know it is, but...
There should be like a cool word with it, like rubber. What?
That's what she said.
Okay.
No?
Maybe.
Could have, but if she did, that was dumb. But.
All right. So overall, kudos and
great fight
job.
Card. Overall, great fight card. Both guys, hats off because they both laid it on the line, and that's what we have to give credit to because these guys, if they would have waited for this fight till next year when there's fans, nobody would have blamed them because they would have made a lot more money. However, I believe that Lopez made like 1.3 or something million for this fight, which is his biggest payday to date.
So my final thought on that is that I don't know. I personally don't feel like everything was left in the ring. I don't. And here's why.
How so? What do you mean?
Because it was right now, because there's no fans and everything else, that it's so important on the production value. Cameras are everywhere, and they're following both guys out of the ring. And honestly, it didn't look like they went through a war. Now, that's just appearance, and I get it that they did. It was actually a very good contested bout.
That's your producer hat you're putting on right now.
But my producer hat's like this. Loma, we've said it in different ways, should have and could have done a lot more. He literally walked out. He didn't even look. He just looked like he was hungover. That was it. He didn't look like he got peppered in the face.
Yeah.
He walked out no problem. He's walking around. They showed him backstage in the quote unquote locker room. Walking around, talking to everybody.
With the decision too. He did disagree with it.
Yeah, sitting around. It wasn't as if he left everything in the ring on the canvas.
I think he knows that, and I think that's probably what he's going to regret too.
And then even Lopez, to that degree, though he came out as the victor, I mean, he was a little beat up on this side. But
I think that was from a headbutt too, and some peppers because
no,
there was
the split was the headbutt, but that was both of them headbutting. It wasn't just
that was not. They called Lopez or Lomachenko for that, but I was like, dude, that was an accidental headbutt.
They called accidental. They called accidental on that. I feel like there could have been more left in the ring. My opinion.
Yeah, I know.
You're going to unify the 4 belts. All eyes are on this bout. The world is watching. It was a great fight. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, I think, to be fair, I think Lopez did leave it all out there, though.
Do you think?
I did.
Okay.
I think he gave his 100.
He just didn't seem. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being cynical. Maybe I'm just picking it apart a little too much. If you left it all in the ring, you can't do the backflip at the end. I don't know.
Well, that's kind of true and kind of not, but maybe he's just that phenomenal
Maybe.
shape, though.
He should have been excited, and he was. So
He
anyways,
does it every fight, though.
let's turn away from this because everyone else
There's
is
some big
picking
fights.
this apart. I want to mention, maybe spend a couple minutes here on this Bellows-Berlanga fight. That was
You did love that
That was
fight.
2 fights before.
Yep.
2 fights before.
Yep.
Holy crap. Berlanga,
Yep.
he's got some hatred behind
Super
his
middleweight
fists.
division, 168.
Listen, this kid, 15-0, all by KO or TKO.
No, not but first round TKO.
First round. The average before this fight, I think they were mentioning it on the TV, it was like 72 seconds was the average length of his fight so far professionally.
To put that all into perspective, I think Mike Tyson had 18 or 19 straight KOs to start his career. This guy's got 15.
And they had a montage leading up of most of them, right? And some of them were like, okay, whatever, cupcakes. The guy who was fighting was no cupcake.
Not at all.
He was like 25-1. This is Linnell Bellows, who we're talking about.
I think he had like 4 or 5 losses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had 13 KOs or something crazy.
And he just beat like a 15-1 guy. He's good.
I tell you what.
It was not supposed to go that way.
So these guys knew going in, this was going to be just, they're going to try to knock each other out. They know that. We know that. The producers of the show know that. That's what they wanted.
That's why they put that fight down there.
That's why they did it at that point in the actual card. Once Berlanga grazed him with that power, Linnell's eyes doubled. Saucers. This guy knew he's about to be in a world of hurt.
Yep.
And to Berlanga's credit, did not let up. He just kept going. Now, if that cat gets accurate, good night, everybody. Accurate.
Left, right, good night.
So, yeah, exactly. Bellows did not hit the canvas, but his brain was off in outer space. When
He was minutes away from hitting the
He
canvas.
got hit a couple times, and he was already looking, over into California, beyond Las Vegas. The ref jumped in, saved his life, because he was about to be in a body bag.
I mean, I think we can say that, actually. We could safely probably say that, nowadays, they're protecting fighters a lot better. Because he could have got seriously hurt. He really could have.
The division needs to look out for Edgar Berlanga. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I know that most fans are sold on the knockouts, which is amazing. It is. But what I'm saying is that I want to see him against a top guy because every single top guy, when they fight to other top guys, you are talking about a very, very small percentage of those fights ending in knockout. And let's even put Triple G up there. Triple G is a bona fide power puncher who knocks out tons of people, right?
Sure.
When he started fighting the top upper echelon guys, he didn't knock them out. It wasn't because he didn't have power. It's because once you get to that level, those guys are equally as good. You might dominate them and beat them, but you're not knocking them out. So I'm not that impressed by his knock. Let me rephrase that. I am impressed that he's getting rid of these guys the way he is. But I will be more impressed when I can see him go a little more rounds. Because
sure.
to top guys, they're going to take him They're going to take him longer.
So I want to see him, obviously. Everyone wants to see him beyond the first round, beyond the first half of a round.
And as you put your producer hat on, I'm going to put my promoter's hat on and say that I want to see him again. And that's the best thing you can say as a fighter. When you fight on TV, the best thing that you can say is, I want to see him again. And I 100% want to see him fight again.
I don't want to see him in a main event yet. But like you said, I want to see him tested a bit.
Yep.
And
they've been trying to test him.
They've been
That
trying.
guy, he's a good guy.
Listen.
That guy was not supposed to be knocked out.
Listen, his coaches...
Let alone the first round.
No, his coaches are trying to prep him for that. I mean, the whole shtick after that fight was that they made him do push-ups in the ring. They've done this before.
You mean the half push-ups?
They were half push-ups.
Brandon, get him.
Edgar Berlanga, I'm a push-up guy. I'm a push-up king.
I'll give it to you. You are.
Those were not even half. Those were like 30% push-ups. Don't give me the glove crap. I do it with gloves too. You go all the way down. Your chest hits the canvas, boy.
You see this guy's arms?
Well, that's not even.
Arms.
No, that's like that's skinny.
That's relaxed. That's relaxed. Oh my! See, this is why when I do the show now, I have to wear long sleeve shirts because this guy puts me in shape.
And plus, now that we have this new lighting mechanism, it shows all the cuts.
I mean, when we're starting to get bigger, that we're getting sponsors and stuff now, so we can afford this stuff.
Once again, thank you very much to TH Boxing, Gulfstream Financial, and and IF Enterprises.
And we're going to add a few to that as well.
There will be.
I'm not going to mention them because as a businessman, I'm not mentioning our future sponsors, but we have some.
No, so if you're interested in possibly taking part in this, maybe it's just like you're like, hey guys, I'm going to buy you a bottle to drink. Maybe it's your own bottle. We would love that because we talk about it. We be honest. Let us know
if it's good. We'll be really honest.
Reach out to us. We're pretty easy to connect with. You can either connect with us on any of our social media channels or our email address, WayneNTH@gmail.com. Very professional that it's a Gmail address.
I know.
Not an actual website, but don't worry about that.
Even though that my professional email address is Hotmail.
Hotmail. I had that.
I use Hotmail still.
I had that in high school.
I did too. And
Maybe 8th grade.
I have the same Hotmail account, Brandon, that I had as a freshman in hike school.
Hike school. Fun fact. You want to know what my username was? My Hotmail and then my first AOL?
B-Money?
No.
I wish it was.
Plop Water. Funny as hell, bro. Think about it.
Wait, I'm thinking, and you want to know what I think about when I hear plop water?
What's that?
When I take a poop.
Well, that was the point of the name.
The water plops.
Yeah, my last name is Waters with an S.
I do not think that is very...
It's not professional.
Good.
But I was in 8th grade. I mean, what do you expect? And listen, this is back in the Stone Age when email was just first coming of age.
Which was Hotmail.
I had an email address.
Did you have a Hotmail?
And yeah.
Or AOL?
Hotmail first, because we were poor. We didn't have AOL.
I never had AOL because I was very poor as well.
We eventually got AOL, and then they dropped it soon thereafter, especially once they found out that we could have like AOL Instant Messenger without AOL.
First of all,
that was beautiful.
We started at the bottom, now we here.
Which is still at the bottom. That's our podcast numbers.
First of all,
the tens.
We're getting up there to the tens, plural.
Yeah.
It used to be just the 10. Now it's the 10s.
So if you are if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, it's not only this podcast we put on there. We put on fight predictions, which he was wrong, which is okay. We were both wrong. We put other stuff on.
But we admit it. I will straight up listen. If I gloat, which I kind of do sometimes, when I'm right, I'll eat some crow. I 100% picked. Go look at our YouTube channel. We posted it.
Yep.
I actually thought about deleting it, but I was like, no.
No, you keep it.
Yeah, I
was
wrong.
That's called podcast integrity, and we have it.
We do. We have a.
So
let's just say a little bit of integrity.
So our YouTube channel, we have more than just these episodes on a weekly basis. We put other stuff up there, just our mind of what's going on in the boxing realm. Sometimes I'll throw up a training thing of what's going on in Travis's gym here. So anyways, we have a good time with that. Where were we going with that? Berlanga. I want to give Edgar Berlanga enough love because you know what? Exciting. You need excitement. I don't know who else is in that division per se.
Super middleweight, right? Well, I mean, you're talking about Canelo is all around that division.
And he's not going to touch that guy.
He was 75. No, he won't.
No,
well,
he won't.
If he wants to pick off a young guy who he would beat right now, he could, but he won't
because
he's a big time guy and
it's two different top rank versus DAZN. It won't happen.
You're probably right, and that's another part of the business of boxing that I don't like. Certain guys are signed with certain people, and they very, very rarely intermingle, and that's a problem. But I do have a little hope because of a guy like Lopez, who is promoted by Top Rank. That guy genuinely, I genuinely believe he called out Devin Haney, and Devin Haney fights for another promotion company. So I think that now that we see people intermingling a little bit more, I think we're going to see it. And I think that as old and stubborn as Bob Arum is, who is the top-ranked promoter, I think he's coming around a little bit because he has some people working for him as well that know that we got to start fighting other guys from other divisions and other promotion companies. So I think that we're going to start seeing some slow stuff happening. And what I mean by that is we have some big fights coming up.
Well,
October.
Yes. So we'll talk about that, but my comment to that is this. When you look at other sports, there's a fine line between boxers or their camps being in the driver's seat of that versus the different promotional companies. So any other sport, same thing. Once the athletes are in control of the money, in control of the scheduling, things like that, I think it just goes haywire. So there's a fine line that boxing has to be careful with.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's room to go where there is more influence with regard to the fighters, where there's, I don't know, you don't want to relinquish as a promoter or the company
Your power, yeah.
the power, because it actually isn't good long term in the sport.
If you listen to everything, here's the deal, and I know this because I've both hats. I've been a boxer, I've been a promoter, etc. So you're right that at the end of the day, the reason why boxers sign with promoters is because they're good at what they do. They're good at building a fighter. They're good at promoting. So if you sign with a promoter, and Teofimo Lopez signed with Bob Arum because he respects what Bob Arum has a body of work. Whether I agree with it or not, I've butted heads with Bob Arum a little bit, but I've also fought for Bob Arum.
Dude,
a couple times. But he's good at what he does.
They showed it in the December fight when Lopez won in Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
And, I think that was Bob Arum in there. And he was saying,
it was.
no, we effing need this.
Yeah, he did. Old Bob Arum. Bob Arum's like 83, 84. He's over 80, I know for sure.
He's basically giving him perspective. No, have your time, but we're on to the next one already. Mm-hmm. Within 5 seconds, we're on to the next thing because we're in constant sales mode. It is a constant sales business. We need to get the fans on board. And if we got this guy, if we got Loma in the ring with you, no, we need this now. And that was before knowing COVID existed. We're not even probably even doing the whole Corona thing.
No, we haven't done it, but we ignore it for now.
That's kind of
we're talking boxing.
Week.
We're having some fun.
I love boxing. I love talking. Yeah, let's go.
So Bob Arum, though, the cool thing about Bob Arum is that the fact that Bob Arum, he's the only guy that could have ever, and I could be wrong, but I want to say that Juan Marquez and Manny Pacquiao fought 4 times, but they might have fought 5 times. But either way, every one of those fights, they were so razor-thin close decisions that nobody wanted to see Manny Pacquiao fight Juan Manuel Marquez. The last time that they fought, nobody, and I'm telling you, I was on the radio and I'm on record as saying, this is the stupidest fight in the world. Nobody wants to see it. And guess what happened? Juan Manuel Marquez knocks Manny Pacquiao out cold. So now Bob Arum sitting back in his little chair being like, told you guys I'm smart. And he is. Like, he did. I hated him. I'm not kidding. I hated him, the fact that he was promoting a Marquez-Pacquiao fight again. Every one of those fights, they were kind of exciting, but nobody wanted to see it again. Honestly, I think it was 5. I'm going to go on. I think it was the 5th fight, and Marquez knocks out Manny Pacquiao. Nobody wanted to see it, but at the end of the day, that's a fight that we're going to talk about for ages because nobody's ever knocked out Manny Pacquiao like that. Manny Pacquiao was face down. So what I'm saying is, Bob Arum promoted that fight. Bob Arum picked that fight. Bob Arum said, we're going to promote that. I'm going to build it up huge, and he did. And they sold a ton for that fight. A ton of people came live, and he did his job. So fighters sign with Bob Arum because he knows what he's doing.
Sure.
This guy's been promoting since Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, anyone that's been doing something for that many years knows what they're doing.
He's doing something right.
In one way, shape, or form or another, they know what they're doing. Okay? So
you're right about that. Like I said, I'm just agreeing with what you said. You're like, promoters need to keep their power, meaning that fighters need to know that at the end of the day, fighters are fighters. You line people up, promote it, and I'll fight them. And that's where Lopez is at. And that's why I think Lopez does respect what Bob Arum does.
Because let's be honest,
you have to.
It's in the long-term game plan, the best interest of protecting certain people no matter what, and putting super fights out there here and there. You can't have one every month or every time, let's say, a top guy. You can't have him fight a super fight every single time.
Nope.
Long term doesn't work out. The math doesn't work.
The fact that everybody gave Mayweather a lot of crap for pulling that Manny Pacquiao fight for so long, right? There was a lot of reasons behind that other than promoting. However, when the fight finally happened, that's the highest grossing boxing match, combat sport pay-per-view buys of all time.
Yeah.
I think they sold like 4 million views on pay-per-view, which is crazy because before, if you hit the million mark, that was a success. They did like 4-point-something million, okay? That fight probably raised to like close to $1 billion.
They're not stupid. All these people in the mix are not stupid because they've been doing this for years. They know we're sheep, and they know how to hurt us properly.
They do, and You know what, Brandon? I'm not a sheep. For one, we're lions. But lions got to eat sometimes too.
Okay.
You know what? We nibble.
Where are we going
These
with the
fights were
analogy?
nibbles.
Okay.
We nibbled on these fights. I like to be control of what I like to watch.
They think
So there's still
they
some.
make you think you're in control of that, but in
Right.
reality, you're a lion inside of the zoo.
You're right. That's the ultimate like successful promoter is. They want to let you know what. That's true. They
That's
want to
right.
let you know.
The best promoter makes you as a fan think you're a lion, but inside the zoo.
But even a fighter, that's the thing too.
And
They
a
make
fighter.
that fighter know. Like Lopez, Bob Arum's like Lopez. Yeah, you're great. You're a superstar. Even though
But he
beat-
checked him right
even
in
though
December.
he beat.
In December, you checked him
Yeah.
right away.
Yep.
No.
But you know what though? Lopez is gonna have a little bit more power now because he
Yeah.
beat Lomachenko, which Lomachenko, by the way, is also promoted by Bob Arum.
Yeah.
Lomachenko was Bob Arum's little baby. Like he was his guy.
Yeah.
But the fact is, the whole point of all of that is that promoters, at the end of the day, as much crap as I like to give Bob Arum, which I do give him, but it's his criticisms. My criticisms of Bob Arum are fair. They really are. I've given a lot of fair criticisms because he doesn't hit it out of the park every time. But like you said, though, you don't have to hit it out of the park
No.
every time. You got to hit one or two big ones, and he does.
In fact,
he
just-
delivers on the big ones.
Just be consistent.
Yep.
When you
And he
consistently
is.
do something and hit great like grand slams here and there or home runs here and there, great.
He does, and that's where he's at. And
Did anyone, and comment below or say whatever you want, did anyone not enjoy watching the top ranked ESPN card from October 17th? Did anyone not enjoy it?
well, here's the deal: if they didn't enjoy it, I got a thing for them. If you did not enjoy that,
A skirt.
I will come and I will knock on your door and I will punch you right in the stomach.
Okay. And
Okay? That was a great fight.
and that also goes to those
That was a great card.
those that are not subscribing to us
If you don't
yet
subscribe to us.
or following us.
You know what? If you don't subscribe to us, you obviously don't love America.
You know what?
You'll love America.
You know what? At a certain point, I'm going to come and punch you in the stomach. And you know what that means? You know what that means? It might hit you in the diaphragm.
Yeah. Did you guys not see our episode 2 or 3 episodes ago? I let this guy hit me.
You're a
He hit
professional.
me. I don't even care because my diaphragm.
Our weight classes are different.
Look at this guy's arms.
No, I walk.
Look at me.
I walk around like 205, so it's a big discrepancy. I understand that.
Okay, this guy hit me, and he didn't believe it when I sat back. I was like, that kind of hurt a little bit. And he was like, you're fine. He's like, suck it
No,
up, Travis.
it was-
and I was like, it kind of hurt a little bit.
It was theatrics, is all it was.
This guy freaking just went up into like it just didn't
Still,
feel
when I
good.
look at the analytics, that was a very highly watched podcast episode on YouTube.
Stop
so
it.
that's what it
Stop
takes.
Stop it. No, that does not sell. Nobody wants to see Travis get hit.
Hey,
Please don't. Please.
There-
please say it.
if
Please
you,
watch our
if you
episodes. Now
if you
that-
have listened and watched up to this point, if you think me punching Travis Hartman anywhere makes sense and you will watch more, and please let us know. Comment below.
Don't freaking say anywhere.
So with that,
Can we talk about the upcoming schedule?
let's
Please.
So once again,
Can we get the focus off Travis getting hit?
I'll wrap this up. Berlanga, great job. Great fight. Exciting fighter. All first-round knockouts. It'll be interesting to see when he's actually tested, how that works out. But listen, I don't think anyone's running to the contract to sign right now to sign up to fight that guy.
You're not
Because it's not that he just randomly knocks out guys. He looked pretty smooth. It's 15 in a row. 15 in a row.
I mean, but to be fair, how smooth can you look in one round? I want to see him in like 6, 7,
Sure,
8
I
rounds.
agree with you. But his coaches,
He's doing all the right things, though,
So we were about to talk about it, but I think we went off on our random
which
tangents.
is normal.
So they made him do push-ups after the fight because they wanted him to work in. They actually wanted him to work in an actual combination. Like they're like, no, we know you're going to knock him out, but we need you to work this one combination in,
He's got good people around him.
dude. And they're like, you didn't work it in, push-ups. And he did like 20 push-ups, or whatever, right after.
That's actually funny.
one-third push-ups,
Berlanga, here's the
bull
deal.
crap push-ups.
Berlanga, we want to have you on the show. And when you come on the show, I'm going to challenge you to a full push-up contest
Push-up off.
with my man B Money.
Done.
Period.
I'll
That's all I'm saying.
do that with anybody.
You know what? That's the
Open,
next
open challenge.
open invitation to the push-up. You know what? What's even better? and this is going to, this is a good segue. I'm getting pretty good at this now because I'm going to segue to this because
I've had a few of these and I'm feeling it.
As we're leaving this, we're wrapping this up. That was a great weekend of boxing.
Yes.
There's a guy named Terence Crawford.
Yes. There is a guy.
Who I fought, but we won't talk about that. He is an ultimate, like, challenge guy. And I think I'm going to extend a challenge to him. I'm going to text him.
Like hot peppers and stuff?
And he does everything.
We should do that.
No. We want to do, he likes physical challenges and games. I'm going to challenge Terence Crawford to a push-up contest with my man. With my man.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second.
You get to punch me. I get to challenge people for you. If we can get Terence Crawford on the show, first of all, I can get him on the show for sure. But if I challenge him, I'm like, listen, dude, I know that you're a world champion. I know that you beat me in a fight. However, you beat me on a decision on points, But anyway, I'm going to challenge you, Terence Crawford, to come and do a push-up challenge with my man.
Fine.
Start practicing, Brandon.
Fine.
More.
I'll train.
Yes.
Are we going number or speed?
If he dies, he dies.
See, here's my skill level. I can do a large quantity, but I'm really good at full speed. Now, and that's full up and down. That's full motion.
So maybe we can do, like, how many push-ups you can do in, like, 30 seconds. But Crawford will want, like, a minute, though, probably. Because he's got stamina.
Well, from what my spouse says, you can do anything for a minute.
I can't even say that's what she said because she said
that's what she said. And that's why I'm good at what I do.
All right.
Drunk or not.
So,
okay,
we're going to lead into the Terence Crawford, the fact that they just announced the night of those fights because Terence Crawford's also promoted by Bob Arum.
Correct.
Terence Crawford is now fighting Kell Brook. What is it, November 14th?
14th, I believe.
That's actually a pretty good fight because if you guys want to know who Kell Brook is, Kell Brook went up 2 weight divisions from 147. He skipped 154, went straight to 160, and fought Triple G.
Yeah.
And this guy's phenomenal. He's from the UK. This guy can fight, straight fight. So the fact that Terence Crawford is fighting him is big. It's a good fight.
Another example of lions wanting to attack each other. Not just cupcake fights, not just something to pad a record. It's, you know what? I want something. I want it.
Yep.
Let's get after it.
I think so. Here's the deal. Now, it's awesome about this is that a lot of people consider Lomachenko the pound for pound best. Even though on my list, I have 3 people on my pound for pound list, and it's Terence Crawford, Lomachenko, and Canelo Alvarez. I always say you can put it in whatever order. I put Crawford at number 1. But everybody's like, oh, Crawford hasn't fought anybody, blah, blah, blah. But I've been in the ring with Crawford, and I'm telling you.
Hold on. He's fought Travis Hartman.
Yes, and I'm telling you that I've fought a lot of good people. Not good, great. I fought a lot of world champions. I think I fought like 8 world champions as a pro, which is blows my mind when I think about it. I'm like, what the heck was I thinking fighting these guys? But so I put Terence Crawford up there as the number 1 pound for pound. And now you got to put him up there now because Lomachenko has to fall out of those ratings because he lost, period. Whether he barely lost or what, you have to drop him out of there. So now I have Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez in my pound-for-pound list. So Terence Crawford's fighting Kell Brook, who Terence Crawford for sure is the favorite in that fight. But Terence Crawford is also moving up from 140 to 147 now. Terence Crawford actually fought 135 pounds when he was pro. So he moved up to 140. Now he's moving up to 47. And he's fought, I think, 2 fights at 47, which is welterweight. And now he's fighting Kell Brook, who is a monster at 47. Yeah. He went up to 60 and was a monster there. Everybody that knows Kell Brook, he's a big dude. For 147, he holds his weight so well. He's a massive dude. So Terence Crawford has a lot on his plate to fight Kell Brook. And the fact that they just announced this fight, guys, October 17th, they announced this fight. He's fighting November 14th.
So less than a month. We've talked about it in a lot of venues. We do Facebook Live before this podcast goes on air, or actually before we record it. We talked about this. 2.5 months in the rest of 2020, which has been a crap year for a lot of people. I get that. There is a lot coming in boxing. In the boxing world, a lot on the schedule. But just in the next few weeks alone, we have this fight that was just announced literally yesterday, which yesterday being October 17th, this November 14th. Just go ahead and make sure that's November 14th.
It is.
Okay. So between that, and I don't want to we're going to talk about it. Trust me, we have a few weeks before that. We're going to give a lot of credit to that fight coming up. So we have that fight on the 14th. The 28th, we have
Roy Jones Jr.
and
Mike Tyson.
That's a huge one. That's just in the next over a month, just over a month. Not even December, which
next
December has a lot of things too. What else does December have?
December has Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, and
Big
then
fight.
just announced was
Anthony
Anthony Joshua, Kolbert Pulev, who Brandon thinks is a gimme fight, which could be, but Pulev is not. Listen, I will say this, because of Anthony Joshua losing to Andy Ruiz, wasn't supposed to. So when you're in the heavyweight division, yes, fights are made because they think that certain guys will win. Meaning that Anthony Joshua, I think what they're trying to do is they're keeping him active because they're foreseeing a Tyson Fury Anthony Joshua, and they don't want Anthony Joshua to get beat again by anybody. So it's a lead up fight.
Stevie Wonder could see that coming.
Maybe.
Wow. Let's remember Stevie Wonder line. Okay.
I have the funniest meme. It's a Stevie Wonder selfie. It's like his half face in a selfie, and it's kind of funny.
There's some people that think he's not blind.
Well,
they think it's
conspiracy theory.
Anyways, so there's a lot coming, and just in the next 40 days,
but
before December.
Yeah, boxing's on fire now. But because of you, Mr. Producer, you send me this message, Travis. You have to watch, or not watch because it was Spotify, but actually do video on Spotify.
Yeah.
You have to listen to the Joe Rogan Experience when he has Roy Jones Jr. on there.
Yep.
And I want to talk about it because.
Do it. I'm going to give you, I'm allotting 5 minutes.
Yeah, I like it. I could probably talk like 50 minutes, but
okay.
I'll take a couple. But it's awesome because I started listening to it, and you know how everybody's like, one, this is not a professional boxing match. This is an exhibition. However, Roy Jones is talking about it.
Yeah, the gloves.
Yes, Roy Jones goes, he says, you've heard it, so because you listen to it. But I actually did, I found a lot of information about it because an exhibition is when something is an exhibition, I'm doing air quotes for Spotify, exhibition, it's supposed to be headgear, bigger gloves, etc., right?
And none of it.
No judges, nothing, right? Roy Jones is on his on Joe Rogan Experience talking about, well, he's like, they call it an exhibition. He goes, but we're not wearing headgears. He goes, there's judges, there's fans. And he's like, this is not an exhibition, everybody. He's like, we're fighting.
And what ounce gloves are they using? I think did they say 12?
I think it's 12, but like exhibition would be like 16-ounce gloves. 12-ounce gloves is like an amateur boxing match. So
it's funny because he was teeing up also. I don't know. Part of me was like, okay, he's also giving a little bit of a hedge out just in case it doesn't go the way he wants it to. But he's like, listen, they're giving Mike extra time. He's like, I took that with 6 weeks.
Because I knew I could get ready.
Thinking like, okay, I could be ready, but he didn't think Mike would be totally ready. He's like, and they push it out. And he's like, I'm just going with it. He's basically saying, I'm going with it because that's what the fans want. That was his message. And so the extra time for Mike to get even more prepared.
Yep.
He's talking about the judges, the gloves, all this stuff. He's like, is that an exhibition?
No, it's not. Everybody, I want to tell everybody because I said it at the beginning because everybody was like, oh, they're fighting a pro fight. I was like, first of all, stop it. It's not a pro fight. It's an exhibition. But then now that I'm listening to the details come out, I'm like, wow, this is a fight, Brandon.
Well,
it is only 8 rounds. And when I say only, for me, 8 rounds is a lot. But championships level fights are 12-round fights. But 8 3-minute rounds.
I was going to say, challenge even the minutes anybody. Were different, right? The minutes per round.
It's a fight.
It's 3 instead of 2.
The fact that this is a fight, this makes it more exciting, and I hope it sells.
Honestly, it needs to because Triller has a lot behind this. They need this to be successful.
Yeah, it will be. You got Roy Jones Jr., Mike Tyson. There's going to be fireworks.
And the platform, which we mentioned weeks ago, the platform this is like an introduction to the Legends League of different sports. They need this to be highly successful.
I think it will be, though.
I think it will be, too. And if you haven't listened to that podcast from Joe Rogan's Experience with Roy Jones Jr., it's very good. If anything, I learned a lot about Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah, I knew a lot about him already, but the only stuff that I learned was the fact that he's fighting Mike Tyson. This is not an exhibition, guys. I want to tell everybody right now, I'm going to promote this fight for them as well. This is a mother effing fight. Yeah. You have Mike Tyson, no headgear, judges, live crowd. This is a fight. Roy Roy has every reason to come out and say, well, I'm kind of having second thoughts about it. He's not scared. He's not. But he's also like, you know what? I originally took this fight because I knew that I could get ready faster and definitely beat him. He goes, but now they're giving Mike more. He even said he found out about the extended date, like, via social media.
His own website.
Yeah. And he was like, I never agreed to that.
No, but then whoever promoted is like, no, it's on your website, so it's done deal.
Yep.
It's done deal.
So that's the funny thing about it.
It's just, there's a lot of gray area there, but I think all in all, you look at Roy Jones Jr., you watch any of these like training videos of both of them, his speed, it'll never be where it was, but it's coming back.
For sure.
Tyson, his power's coming back. Hit that again for me. It's, that one. And then video.
Got you.
That's not video.
Well, that's life.
And that's video. So, you got Jones Jr.'s speed coming back. Tyson's power's coming back. We still have, 5-6 weeks till that fight.
Yeah, dude, it's October, 18th today?
Happy damn giving to everybody with that fight.
It's October 18th right now. And that fight is November 20th.
28th, I thought.
28th, yeah, you're probably right. I think I said 23rd a couple times, but I think it's the 28th.
I think it's the weekend of Thanksgiving.
Yep. So I think it's that Thanksgiving.
So if you haven't done so already, download Triller, because I don't know like the details, like how do you actually watch this thing, but if you don't have Triller, you should, because then you can also follow Wayne and TH at Triller. That's us.
Holla!
We've posted literally like 4 things. I don't know, because I don't know how to use it.
You know how to use it enough because you've.
Well, it's like TikTok, videos. Right?
I mean, you keep saying it's like TikTok, but I don't know that it's like TikTok because TikTok, they allow like 60-second videos is the most.
You can do the videos. I don't know the long videos.
You can do live, okay, yeah.
But then I could like sync it to Insta.
Ooh.
We've done this.
It's a game changer.
This whole podcast is a game changer.
Instagram, we have an Instagram wing with Travis Hartman as well. Follow our Instagram.
Full name. We have a long name, but we like it. Long name. I said name.
You said long, though.
Yeah, but I said name.
But I mean, my mind stops when you say that stuff.
Does it?
I hear long, and I'm like, that's it.
Well, you know what I've said about the lifestyle. I'm not going to say it here. So, if you're not following us already, Instagram, Wayne In with Travis Hartman, at Wayne In with Travis Hartman. I don't know.
What is it?
Wayne In with Travis Hartman. It's the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's the name. Yeah. Facebook, same thing. YouTube, same thing.
You didn't comment back to my text messages, by the way.
Which one? Your phone's broken.
Yeah. By the way, I didn't delete you.
What did you text me?
Whatever else. I text you about if you take out. So if you do Wayne with Travis Hartman.
WTH.
It's WTH.
What's funny is that.
WTH means what the hell?
In post-production, when I'm doing like video editing, when I have to save certain like files, it is. I save it as WTH.
See, it's WTH.
I already knew that.
See, but you didn't comment back to me. You left me hanging, man.
Would you have received that text? Your phone sucks.
First of all, Apple, if you're watching this, first of all, you're covered up by this. But Apple, whoa, you're about to get flexed on. Apple's getting flexed on. Come on,
Terrence.
Right now.
Bring it with the push-up. The push-up combo.
Terrence, literally, I'm sending this. Watch. You know what? I promise you I will text this episode to Terrence. He will see this. So
he should.
But he should. But Apple, come on, bro, give me a break. I just bought a phone from you guys like 4 or 5 months ago. Like a month ago. It was 4 months old. It just randomly turns off. And then guess what? In like 2 days, it randomly turns back on. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to keep it. I keep it. Guess what happened? A couple days ago, randomly turned off. And guess what happened? It's still off right now. So I can't predict. I can't text my producer and tell him, hey, what time we're going to do the show today? Oh, I don't know. I have to text him from somebody else's phone.
He can't text me and be like, hey, man, I just appreciate you.
And you know what, though? I do appreciate this guy a lot.
I'm just kidding.
And I tell him repeatedly how much I appreciate him.
So listen, and you do. I'm just joking. In jest. We appreciate each other. And
very much.
And we appreciate you. Those that are subscribing or following us on YouTube, iTunes, on Spotify, everywhere we are, Facebook. You can find us. Wayne In with Travis Hartman. The only one that's the weird name is Triller. Wayne In TH.
We'll take it.
Because they have a shortened icon. I don't know. But anyways, anything else we're going with?
No, I mean, we've done pretty well.
I'm going to throw you closing thoughts then. Let's just throw it that way.
Closing thoughts are, I am reading a book.
Okay.
And I've told you this
Don't cuss.
multiple times. I'm going to hold back.
Okay.
However, I am not a big reader. I do read a lot, but I don't read a lot of books.
You can read real good?
I can't read good, Captain. But I don't read a lot of books.
Okay.
I've read a total, probably, and this is an estimate, I've read probably a total of 10 books my entire life. And that was because, one,
You've done more
in
with
high
school.
No, I'm telling you. I'm
Missouri.
In college.
I thought we were bad in Florida.
We required us to read a couple. I mean, okay, you know what? You're probably more than like as a kid, like we read some little short story books, like 15
Wrap it up.
pages.
We're losing viewers by
but
the
anyway,
second.
I'm reading "Can't Hurt Me" by
Okay.
David Goggins.
Okay.
Phenomenal book. I recommend it to everybody. I'm like not even halfway through it yet. This guy is phenomenal. His mental capacity is phenomenal. And this is what I want. The reason I bring it up is because I want to leave this with everybody. Is he says something very important in that book that I really, really like, and he says that it's all about accountability. He has something that he calls the accountability mirror. He looks into that mirror and he's honest with himself, away from everybody else. So he's by himself, and that's where I think the truest things come out, is when you're by yourself. Because a lot of people will put on a front and tell people, oh, I'm strong, I'm tough, I'm all this stuff, right? But when you look in that mirror at the end of the day, even at the beginning of the day, when you look in that mirror, you know the truth. You know if you are weak. You know that if you are sliding yourself, you know that you're not living up to your potential. So what I want to say is, people, let's all be more accountable. Look in that mirror and literally hold yourself accountable. Don't listen to the media. Don't listen to society. Don't listen to the people around you. At the end of the day, and I genuinely mean this, look yourself in the mirror, tell yourself what you really want in your life, and go for it. At the end of the day, stop allowing people to give you excuses as to why you're failing. And I say this because I'm not where I want to be. I know you're not where you want to be. We're not. And at the end of the day, when you finally become content, that's not a good thing. I want to be uncomfortable. Make me uncomfortable, because when I'm the most uncomfortable is when I succeed the most. And right now, I can tell you right now, Brandon, that I'm the most uncomfortable I've ever been. And that, you know what that means to me, though? That's not a bad thing. That means to me that I have a lot of room to grow, and I'm about to blossom like no other, because I'm 37 years old. I'm happy with where I'm at. I really am. I've done a lot. But I'm not content, man. I got a lot more to accomplish still. So I look in that mirror, and I have little Post-it notes that I put on there. I do to this day. I still do. Even before I read David Goggins, I do Post-it notes. And I'm not even close to where I want to be. And David Goggins he's spurring me on even more. And I think that he's a very harsh critic of himself, and he cusses a lot and he swears a lot. And at the end of the day, though, he's his own worst critic. And I like that, because I need to be my own worst critic to grow.
So to your final thoughts, let me add mine, because you mentioned a couple key words. Contentment, one key word, contentment. There is a difference between contentment and complacency, right? Being content and being complacent. I think far too often we in our culture get complacent, right? And so we get comfortable.
You get stuck.
And there's nothing wrong with being uncomfortable.
There's not.
Push. Keep pushing.
That's why we're doing the show. That's why we connect, because we're growing. And we're
so,
continuing to grow. And you know what? If you don't like us now, you're going to regret not liking us now, because I promise you, me and this guy
are going to show up on your doorstep.
We work our butts off.
And punch you in the stomach.
And then he's going to do push-ups.
I think with that there is Travis Hartman.
That there is B-Money, a.k.a. producer, a.k.a. Brandon Waters.
Thanks for joining us. God bless.
God bless you guys.